Welcome to week 2 asynchronous session for English 11A. We are talking about research questions this week. So this is the information you will need to complete the quiz for week 2. So after you're done listening to the video and watching the video, you're going to go to our courses and you are going to choose English class. You're going to go into our class and you're going to click on that quizzes tab at the top of the screen and you're going to choose quiz number 2. It's going to ask you for an access code. I'm going to give you the access code in pieces throughout the video. The first word in your access code is cucumber. And these are going to be 3 separate words, so make sure that you separate them all by a space. The first word is cucumber. Okay, on to our lesson. So our objective is to generate a direct and specific question to guide our research. In units 2 and 3, we are working on a research project. That means that over our current unit, in Unit 2, we're going to begin the process of generating a research question and beginning to research and outline our paper. And then in Unit 3, which is next week, you will write the essay and you will submit it for grading. So if you have done research before, I'm curious if you've used a research question. So think about your experience with research. Have you used a research question to help guide your research in any given form? Our objective today, my objective, is that after the lesson is over, you have written a specific research question to guide your research during this unit and Unit 3. So what exactly is a research question? A research question is a question that is designed to guide your research. This means that the question will help determine what you're looking for your paper. Are there good or bad research questions? Yes, definitely. You want your question to lead you somewhere, so you want to avoid yes and no types of questions. It has to have direction. So if we look at that criteria for a research question, it must be a question, obviously, because that's part of the title, right? It's a question, but it must be directive and it must be specific. And the reasoning for that is if you choose a very broad topic, when you go to do your research, you're going to be overwhelmed with information. I always tell students it's better to start off a little too specific than a little too broad. If you're too specific, you can widen your search. But if you're too broad, you're going to continue to narrow it down and narrow it down and narrow it down. You will save more time if you have a narrow focus, specific focus at the start, and then you can broaden the topic if you need to. This project is a 3 to 5 page project, so it is helpful to have a narrow and specific topic to research. All right, so our essay for Unit 2 and 3, we're focusing on an environmental issue. So that is a really broad umbrella. So if you identify, 3 or 4 different elements that contribute to an environmental issue, you could come up with natural disasters. You could come up with air pollution, water pollution, plastic in the ocean, deforestation. So there are so many choices that concept of environmental issue is too broad. And I get a lot of students who send me a question and it's like, I'm going to write about climate change. Well, okay, that's great. Climate change is something we should all be educated on, but it's a broad topic. So let's talk about that because that's a good starting place to show how we're going to narrow down this topic, right? So let's take climate change, for example. It's a broad topic, as I mentioned. How can we narrow it down? I want you to think for a minute about what topics fall under the umbrella of climate change. So narrowing down your research to a specific research question is kind of like a funnel. You want to start broad at the top. So we're going to say climate change is our broad topic. We're going to identify the elements of climate change and then continue to narrow our focus until we have a specific question. So while you identify and think about 4 to 5 different elements that fall under the umbrella of climate change, I'm going to give you word number 2. Word number 2 is radio for your access code. So hopefully you remember that first one, and your second word is radio. All right, so some things that we could identify that fall under climate change. Natural disasters. let's talk about natural disasters. A lot of people think that there's an increase in natural disasters in the previous, in the last 20 years. So natural disasters, there are hurricanes, there are tornadoes, there are earthquakes, there are tsunamis, there are forest fires if they're started by a natural cause. So those are all natural disasters, right? So we don't want to write about all 5 natural disasters we can brainstorm. So we're going to continue with our funnel analogy, and we're going to narrow it down even more to hurricanes. And I'm right down here, if you guys can see. I'm on hurricanes here, because this, we've narrowed it down from natural disasters, from climate change, to natural disasters, to hurricanes. I'm going to show you the progression. Natural disasters to hurricanes. All right, so hurricanes, let's say this is our broad overarching topic, hurricanes. Okay, then I want you to ask yourself, what do you want to know about hurricanes? Okay, well, I would like to know if they increased in the last few years and maybe why they've increased. All right, then I want to know, what's the lasting impact of hurricanes? I feel like we hear about hurricanes in the news often. So why is there an increase in hurricanes in the last few years, and why? And what is the lasting impact of hurricanes? So I am wondering if there's a connection between hurricanes and climate change, right? Because climate change, remember, climate change is my overarching idea, right? Natural disasters falls under that, the impact or the increase in natural disasters, and then hurricanes. So that's my natural progression, my funnel. So then I've written down the things that I want to know about hurricanes. Is there an increase in hurricanes in the last few years, and why? And what is the lasting impact of hurricanes? So then I am going to identify my question. Now, the question will not be a part of your paper. When you have an answer to your question, it is going to become your thesis statement, and then you're going to show or prove that thesis statement in your essay. So my question, after narrowing it down from climate change to natural disasters to hurricanes, I have written a question that states, due to the impact of climate change, what is the long-term effect of hurricanes on local communities along the United States coastline? Left out the word on. Okay, so I might start researching this and think, oh, it's a little too narrow, but I could add, in terms of local communities, I could also add wildlife in the area. There are a lot of different ways I can tweak this question if I find that my focus is too narrow. But I do believe that I won't find that problem here. So instead of going to Google or whatever search engine I'm going to use to help fuel my research, if I just went there, I would have to type in hurricanes. Well, I'm going to get so much information about hurricanes if I just type hurricanes into Google. But if I go and type, what is the impact of hurricanes on the U.S. coastline? How are local communities impacted most by hurricanes? Is there an increase in hurricanes in the past few years? Is this connected to climate change? These are specific things that are going to propel me forward. And I'm going to get there through the use of this question. This question is going to generate those extra questions and those other forms of inquiry for me to follow through with my research. Then once I answer my question, I can use the answer to build my thesis statement, like I mentioned. But I can also use that answer to build my paper. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that next week in terms of organization in the research paper. But if I have 3 different elements that I'm going to focus on, the impact of climate change on hurricane increases, the long-term effect of hurricanes on local communities, and the U.S. coastline. Therefore, I have 3 different elements, 3 different ways to break my essay up into my outline, and then therefore my paper. All right, your last word for your access code, remember I've given you 2. Your last word for your access code is cake. It is cake. So you should have 3 words. Make sure you do not use any capital letters and that they are all 3 separated by a space before you enter it in. All right, so then what I'm going to ask you to do now is you're going to take this information that you've learned today about research questions, and you're going to go take the quiz, and you're going to apply this information to that quiz. But you're also going to be generating a direct and specific question to guide your research. So that's going to be one of the questions in the quiz. If you want to take a look at this and model your question off of my question, you're free to do that. But identify what environmental issue you want to focus on, and then use that funnel analogy to narrow down your focus. Give me a call, send me a message if you have questions or need any help. Otherwise, have a great day.